Hi everyone, how are you? Um, welcome. Welcome to the live stream for YouTube. I'm Concy Sindette, in case you're new here. If you could do me a favor, I think just someone say you can see me and hear me, because that way I know that everything is working correctly. That would be delightful. Thank you. And that way we can get started watching. You are going to be here watching me make tags for snack time. Yes, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, my mother. My mother helped me. Julie, hi. And hi, Kathy. Tracy, yay. Okay, so we are here today to spend some time playing with tags to add to the journal that we made, or that you're making, or that you will make, depends where you are in this process, in the snack time in the Creative Playground, which is a free class that's currently going on. And we're making a dual art and writing journal. And I hope that you're having fun. If you're working on it, or if you haven't started yet, or if you have some questions, this is the time to, hit me up. So one of the things that the journal had was some pockets that we folded in, and that was, hi Kimber, that was today's lesson about how to just do that and put a closure on it. And one of the printables was some bookmarks or tags, or however you would like to classify them, for us to play with, and maybe make some tags to put in to the journal. So that's what we're here today to do, as well as just, share some information about the fact that my membership, the Creative Playground, is now open for enrollment until the end of Tuesday. And I would love to have you join us. That's what Snack Time is, a way for you to get to know me and my way of teaching, and some philosophies I share, which, are very much about keeping things simple, keeping them small journals. We made a small journal, working in small, short bits of time, which is how the lessons played out over 6 days, because I wanted you to spend just a little time each day working on it. And so today we're going to play with the tags. So we'll play with that first, and then I will share some information about the membership, if you don't mind. All right. So I'm going to put my hands in the spotlight. Here we go. And this is the journal that is being made right now. If you are in the process of making it, or have watched the videos, however that worked for you. So this is the journal, where it is, the first half is art journal, and then the second half is a writing journal. Okay, so if you're watching this after the fact on the replay, there's still time to join before the 19th, and if not, then reach out to me and we could get you maybe set up in the membership. Okay, so what I wanted to do was to make some tags to fit in the pockets in the center, and then the pockets that were created on the outsides. I've also started playing a little bit in my journal with some stuff that I just did 3 pages so far. So I haven't done much more than that. The other thing I did was I found some stickers in my stash, and so I added a sticker here and a sticker here. I think that was it. Oh, and one here. So I also went in and added some stickers onto the writing journal, just to give it a little more oomph. The green is enough for me to go ahead and journal on. It just gives it a little bit of visual interest, but adding the sticker on top just, intensifies that, which is awesome. So the supplies that I have with me today, and I've made something here already to share, but the supplies that I made available for myself today were all the printables. So I printed the full out sheet that we use to cover the journal on printer paper. I also printed it out on deli paper, If you are not familiar with deli paper, I had an email this morning from someone in the UK who was like, what's deli paper? Good question. But deli paper is basically what we in the US wrap our sandwiches in. So it's kind of like a waxed paper, a thin wax paper. What I love about it is that when you glue it down, it tends to disappear into your art journal pages. So I like to test out printables by putting them on deli paper. I do put deli paper through my printer by taping it to a piece of cardstock. It's way bigger than a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, so I tape it like a sandwich. I wrap it and tape it on the back, and then pop it through my printer. So just be careful; it can get stuck. If you have a hand-fed section of your printer, that's what you want to do. But you can see what the difference is between printing it on printer paper where it has a white background to really intensify the colors, and what it does without. So I have that. I also, because, why not? I also printed the lined paper on printer paper. I have it still on cardstock, which is what I use to make these pages. Sorry, I keep pulling my hand out of the camera. And then because I was like, why not? Let's see what happens. I printed it on deli paper too, because why not? I'll see what happens with that. So then I did the same exact thing for the book tags or bookmarks, whatever you want to call them. Printer paper, deli paper, okay, and cardstock. All right, and this cardstock is a little bit on the creamy side, so it changes the look of it slightly because it's on the creamy side. So, and then I have my prompts available should I want them. So I just was like, let's just experiment and see what happens with all these different types of paper. That's really my philosophy. You're going to play and just experiment and see what happens. So I had an extra piece of the cardstock lined paper. So I have that available as a base for a tag. And then the other thing, and then plain old cardstock if you need it. But the way that we cut out the journal out of the file folder for the cover, I ended up with the bottom where it folds. So I'm going to use this as a base for tags as well. So the first tag that, and I want you to bear in mind that I'm using the word tags. A tuck-in, a bookmark, it doesn't really matter. I'm just using the word tags because people can visualize it, what it is that I want to create. You could keep your life really simple and just print these out on cardstock and cut them out and call it a tag. You punch a hole in the top, put some ribbon, chop the corners off, tag. All set to go. So, that's one of the things I'm going to do is I like the idea of taking the one that's on cardstock but just kind of beefing it up a little bit. So I'm going to cut this one out. Not perfect. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to trim it down after I've done what I want to do to it. So I've got the cardstock one of the one that says breathe in love, breathe out love. And I'm going to, I have notes, so I also did not, so just, you're going to hear a lot of wrinkling because I'm reading my notes. But I'm going to take book paper and I'm going to glue it to the back of it. And I want to make sure that I cover it correctly. So I'm just judging here. That's about where it needs to be. And I'm going to put this on the back, some book paper. I just want to give it some interest. Obviously, if you've watched me do the journal, you know that book paper was kind of a theme for me for the whole thing. I really enjoy book paper. I'm an avid reader, and it took me a very long time to figure out that it was okay for me to use book paper and to find an old book that I was willing to rip up. And then I got a job at my local library I haven't worked there in a while, but I worked there for a few years. And then, you know, I realized how many books come in damaged and we end up throwing them away. And, you know, so why not find a book that was interesting and use it in a fun new way? So if you're hesitant to use book paper, find a book that's kind of destroyed and there'll be plenty of paper in it for you to use. All right, so I've got my book paper glued on the back, and then now I'm going to trim it out. So instead of trying to make it perfect, why bother doing that? So I'm going to trim it out. So what I'm doing, because I cut it out on cardstock, I've gotten one level of thickness to the tag. That helps a lot. Adding the book paper, and this book paper is very thick, it's not thin. It's a pretty hefty piece of paper. That is just adding weight to the tag. Okay, so now I've got this back that's interesting. I might could go in and find some words or, you know, to it, but we're gonna see. The other option I thought was, I'm a big fan of taking color and wrapping it or bleeding it out into things. So I'm going to take my watercolor, and where I have this green, I'm going to wrap it around to the other side. Now you might have to, let me pull my watercolor out in front of me. You might have to play with your watercolor a bit, because, you know, your color might not be my color. This was made in Procreate, so I wasn't using watercolor, I was using digital paint. So that, you know, that will make a difference. But I like the idea of just wrapping this color around to the back, so that it feels like a little bit cohesive, and just bleed it out. So then there's a little bit of green down in here. And I don't know if anybody here is playing along, or if you're just here to watch, which is absolutely fine. There's never any pressure. Sometimes it helps to watch first. And then, you know, this will be on replay because it's here on YouTube, so just have to give it time to do its thing. And then you can watch it to your heart's content a million times. All right, so maybe a little bit of purple here and here. So visually it just brings the paper, you know, the color around to the back. The other thing we can do is, there's these yellow flowers, and I'm going to repeat, like, the way I'm doing this, you're going to see me do that in another piece in a minute. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same. I can even, if I'm finding the color is a little stronger with my watercolor than what's on the card, oops, so you can actually see, I can strengthen up what's on the card. All right, and then let's see, we've got down here, I'm going to extend it, boop, 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 boop. Okay. And then I actually realized I pulled out this stamp. Ha! Well, isn't that handy? Did not do that on purpose. But I scanned a lot of my rubber stamps into Procreate so I could use them as brushes. They're called brushes in Procreate. Stamps in Procreate, that's why it's a lot bigger. But it also, I have this now, so why not take that? So you might not have, obviously, you don't have my stamp, but you can take black marker and do the similar idea. And I'm using my table as underpaper. I'm working on getting a new one eventually. It's time to change out my wooden paper. Okay, so now I've even extended these circles, oops, onto the back. All right, so let's see. It's a little damp. So if I was doing it as a tag, you could, you know, slice the corners. You could round the corners, which I think I will do, but it's a little bit damp, so give me a second with that one. Then I'm going to punch it. And add a bit of ribbon. I have a little bit of green here that I can add on. And actually, I'm going to take a second just to dry this because I want to round, well, you know, I'll round the corners later. It doesn't have to be. I think y'all will know what rounding the corners looks like. So this is, you know, you could use it as a bookmark within the journal. Sometimes it's just fun to have a tag sitting in the book so it sits out and it looks interesting. Try not to rip the paper because it is still wet where I did the watercolor, so just bear with me. Okay, and if you wanted, you could take, I've lost them, oh, here they are. You could take a couple of these prompts and glue them on the back, which I think I will. So I have 3 right here that all say, today I choose to believe. Let's pull one out. I'm going to cut them off. So now you could use it as a prompt for yourself if you put a bunch of these on the back. Oops, might help if you actually could see. All right, so we got that. Today I want to feel. And you could have printed these as well on deli paper if you're going with my print it all on deli paper idea, because then the prompts tend to disappear into whatever you're gluing it onto. And then this one is another today, so I'm kind of going with a theme. Today I will stay grounded by tuning into my senses. And then it says, here's how. And then the idea would be to journal about that. All right, so trim, 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 trim. So then I can just put these 3 onto the back. And I could add as many as I wanted, really. All right, so let me glue them on really quickly. By the way, I've shared this a million times, but I never know when someone's new to me. Here's another use for an old book. This one was like very damaged. I use it as a way to glue on so that I don't get glue on my project or my table. And then as it builds up with glue, I just rip the page out, throw it away, and grab a new one. That was a great idea, passed down from one artist to another. Okay, so then I have my tag, and I can just tuck it in the book. And no matter which side it's showing at, it's interesting. And then if I want to do a prompt for the day, I can pull it out. Love it. So that's one way of doing the tag. Super easy. These are not rocket science. These are not like mind-blowing techniques. These are simple, easy ways of just enjoying what you're doing and taking someone's printables. I am a huge fan of printables, especially if another artist gives them to me. I print them all. All right, I am, now that it's dry, I'm going to round the corners. Because I love to have a variety of work. So yes, it's easy for me to make up a bunch of collage material, but sometimes it's fun to have someone else's work handy. Okay. And okay, I feel like I need to also, because it's me, I have not met something, I have not had to put sketchy black lines around people. It doesn't feel finished. It's like, you know, not brushing your teeth. You just gotta, one last thing. All right, so there's one idea. Now this, I'm going to show you this idea because I don't want to run out of time with this idea. I mean, we're here for an hour, but the other idea I had was within this part of the journal, I had suggested that, you know, here and there you go in and take some of the writing prompts and glue them down. But there's a lot of them, and you might not want to. You might want to just have it be more of a random thing. So I thought, what if we had a way of putting them in one of the pockets? So I'm going to show you how I made this a prompt envelope, if you will. So it's a prompt, tag, bookmark, envelope. All right. So with a little piece of Velcro, because you don't want to cut all those little things up, put them in this envelope and have them fly out. That would be horrible. So how I made this was I grabbed the printable for the lined paper, and the ones we had cut out where it was 7x9 for this, and then we cut them in half. This is one of the leftovers that I had, okay? And so we're going to take this and fold it and make the envelope with it. So I'll measure it for those that are here in the, you know, I did have, it was right here. Everything is always right here until you need it. Here you go. I'm going to measure it for those watching this on a replay at a different time. So this is 7 1/8. 7 is fine. By 5. Okay, so 7 by 5. And I want to fold it up and leave. I'm going to measure it so that we can be very specific about this. I winged it, but I know y'all don't always like to wing it. So about 1 inch. Look at that. It was actually 1 inch. I'm folding, going to fold the bottom up to within 1 inch of the bottom. Okay. And if you have a bone folder handy, use it. Here it is. All right, and then I'm going to fold over, not all the way. It doesn't fold, let's see if you can feel it. It doesn't fold all the way. It leaves a little bit of space, about 1/8 of an inch or so. Fold over the top. Whoops. All right, okay. So then you have this fun thing. A little bit up here, one in the middle, and one on the bottom. Then I'm going to fold in the sides, just a smidge. A smidge is about maybe 1/4 of an inch or so. Okay, so fold in each side. Okay, so then you end up with all these little sections. So let me grab a pencil because it'll be easier for you to see. The bottom section, you're going to cut this off and cut a little bit of a triangle off. And we're going to do the same thing there, here, 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 and here. Okay? And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you want it to be perfect, then, you know, you might want to do this on a scoreboard. I have one, but I know not everybody does, and I only just recently got one. But I say just go for it. It's a piece of paper. If it doesn't work right the first time, then you'll do it again and try a second time. And this is supposed to be just for fun anyway. I'm all about doing stuff for the process, not necessarily for the outcome. I mean, we love it when it looks beautiful or pretty or cool or interesting or, you know, all those words, delightful, joyous. And let's just do it for the fun of it. Okay, so now you can see these come in. This would go up and you would tape it down, and then this tapes down, and you've got yourself an envelope, which is delightful. So before I tape it up, I'm going to decorate it. So this right here is this one, okay? But just done with, I cut it out of the printer paper. And, oh, you know what? I'm just going to do it for you. Let's do this one. So I'm going to use the leaf one. You can use any of them that you want, obviously. The mandala would be really pretty. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to tape it to the front, all right? So this is bent this way. And we're going to glue it down. If y'all could see this table right now, you would die. It was very unmessy this morning so that I could be ready for today. And now it's very messy. But that's the way it is when we work. All right, so I glued this down. So I did the same exact thing on this one. It is glued, you can see it up to here. All right, and then I took my watercolor and extended the design. So we're going to do something similar with this one. So I guess you're seeing a theme here. And again, it doesn't have to be the same colors. If you go over what's on the piece, what's on the, you know, on the printable a little bit, you can always blend it in to what's there, because your watercolor and my watercolor aren't always going to be the same. And I did this so that it actually came down a little bit onto the back, okay? It is taped up now, so I cannot show you that part. So just extend out the design. The ferns can be as ferny as you wish. This fern is something that was one of the brushes in Procreate, and it's one of my favorite. At some point I would like to actually carve, whoops, wrong color, carve a stamp that looked like that. So it looks very wild, super wild. And then I can come in here and also extend out some of the blue. I could have done that first, but it honestly doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to, you know, replicate it perfection here. I'm just looking to extend the color out a little bit. And there is some purple splatters in the background. So let's see if we can do getting purple splatters everywhere. So that way the design is across the whole piece. Okay. And we'll let that dry a second. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. So I also, in addition to pulling the color out, these flowers were all done with a scribbly marker as an outline. So I did the same thing. I just added the scribbles out to extend the design, okay, out into it. And we'll give it a minute to dry. The other thing I did was I did round the corners on these, on the flap. It's not important. You could just cut it at an angle if you wanted to. I added some washi tape. This is not like essential. It was just, I had a piece of washi tape and I thought, well, what does it look like if I add a piece of washi tape on it? I might not do that on this. I kind of like the wildness of this one. So I probably will leave that alone. And then I wanted it to be closed. So I had some, oh my God, what is this? Velcro, that would be the word I'm looking for, people. Velcro, and I glued Velcro on, just a button, nothing like crazy about it. You know, however closure you would like to use, you might have something else you would like to use, just so that it stayed closed for me to be able to tuck into the back of the journal, okay? So I have this envelope that sticks out of my journal that I can now fill. I feel like I want this way. I can now fill with all the prompts, and that way when I go to the journal, you know, I'm getting ready to do something, I want to do some writing, I can pop this out, just fiddle inside, pick one at random, and that way you can carry it. The other thing with this is if you fill it and you fill this and you haven't used up all the prompts, then you can move this to another journal with you and continue to use it. You could print the prompts about multiple times and just keep refilling your little envelope with the prompts. Okay, so I'm going to just mute for 1 sec to blow dry this so that I can put it together. Okay. All right, so I've got my design on there. I am going to round the corners. Corner rounders are a delight. Okay, and then you can use a glue stick if you want. I'm going to use double-sided tape. I don't want to lose this little piece of Velcro. Double-sided tape on the 2 flaps. And then fold up your bottom. Okay, and then fold down your little lid. And I'm not going to put the Velcro on because I did glue the Velcro on with Aleene's tacky glue and then held it closed with a clothespin so that it would really adhere. It's thicker. It's not going to stick with a glue stick or the double-sided tape. I really needed something a little more sturdy. So some tacky glue, I put it on, glued it on both sides, and then clothespinned it and let it dry. Okay, so give yourself some time with that. But now you have another envelope. Okay, so you're taking my design and then just expanding on it to cover up the space and letting it splay over your sides. All right, So there's a second thing for you to tuck into your book. Wow, we have multiple things here. Boom. I love all the stuff sticking out. It's awesome. It makes it interesting and you want to dive in, which is delightful. All right, so the other thing was to actually use the manila folder. One of the things that I absolutely loved, I do love, about manila folder is the actual color, which is delightful. And then I had printed the background collage paper on the deli paper, and it really was beautiful against the manila. Like, I love the softness of it on the background. So I think what I'm going to do is do a tag with this as the front, and then I'm going to add a couple layers onto it. Hang on one second. My camera is decided to die. It was charged, but I guess we're going faster than we thought. Bear with me. There you go. Now we won't die. Oops. We also don't want the cord in the camera. There we go. Okay, so we're back. Don't you just love live things, people? Live, it's a joy. All right, so I want to do a tag that is for here. Yes, isn't that great, Robin? I love that. That was, y'all are being privy to my, I woke up in the middle of the night and had that thought. It's the way my brain works. So I want to make the tag maybe a tiny bit bigger than this. Okay. And it would help if I actually cut this. Not everyone wants to put the prompts on the pages ahead of time. Some people like that, the idea that it's, you know, it's there and they don't have to think about it when they go to journal. But sometimes the randomness of picking a prompt during the day or whenever you happen to journal is also delightful. Kind of like picking an oracle card or, you know, a tarot. All right, so I'm going to glue this to the back of my paper here. Again, I never try to match two pieces of paper. One is the size or not. The other one, don't care. We'll just trim it. It's just easier to trim. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry for a second. And then my idea is, I had cut out this thinking I would want to use it. This is the mandala version on printer paper, because I had multiples of these. And I thought I would maybe want to like glue it on top, and it seemed kind of busy. So I think what I'm going to do is fussy cut it-ish. Let's be really clear about the ishy part. And you can see that I'm going to have to extend it with a pen. And I'm going to hang on to this little piece, the top. So I'm not being super fussy. I love the word ish. Fussy-ish. Again, hold on to the two little ones. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to do, so this is dry. What I want to do on the back is I'm going to take some lined paper. So the idea behind this tag is to use this tag as another place to journal. Okay. So I'm going to take a piece of this. I'm going to rip. Slow. And I'm going to glue this on the back here to give myself lines to journal on. All right. And what I want to encourage you to do, this is meant to be an inspiration for you to play with all the printables and, you know, all different kinds of paper that you can put them on. But, you know, mix and match the ideas that I'm showing you. Can you find a, you know, is there a different way that you would like to try it? Is there something that sounded interesting but you would try it a different way? I really, really encourage you to always take someone's ideas and see if you can tweak them here and there, or take 2 or 3 ideas and meld them together. All right, so I'm going to now cut this out. And I handily did it along the line, so that was easy for me to find the edge. And if worse comes to worse, you actually cut part of the tag if you need to trim it that way. And I'm actually holding it up so I could see it, kind of like using my lights as a light box. All right. So I've got lined on the back so that I have a place to journal. And then I have my fun design on the front, but I want to jazz it up. So I'm just going to glue on the mandala on top so that the fussy cut, it gives it that a pop of contrast with the black and white. And again, it's using all the stuff that was just a part of this class. So it also makes, you know, partly it can bring things to be cohesive, but cohesive. Do you like it? Go with it. All right, let's see if I can line this up visually about halfway. Okay. And I will grab my Sharpie marker and I will extend the 2 that get cut off because of the design. Okay, so I just extended it so visually it doesn't look cut off anymore. And if you wanted, you could even extend even more and continue the design out into the piece. It's always visually pleasing, I would say. I was almost going to use the word correct, but that's wrong. Pleasing to extend things so that the eye has a place to continue to travel. So that's one of the reasons why when I put collage down, I take watercolor and bleed the color out into a page. Or like I took that, you know, the tags that we just did and extended the design, because it just gives your eye a gentleness to continue on out. Okay. And then I could go and add some more, you know, continue the dots, or, you know, extend it a different way. I could pick up one of these designs and start adding in. I can go as fancy as I want with it. So on the other side, you have these 2, and this time I think, no, I'm in the corner rounding mode today. I definitely do not feel like making them on an angle the way a true tag is. I just don't. Whoops, that corner did not smush well. So we must cut it ourselves. So on the other side, you have these itty bitty ones. And I'm actually going to cut off the swirls, because I would just like it to be a tiny bit smaller. So then I'm taking that one tag and just using it as collage fodder. But what it does is it ties this to this, okay? And you could have left the swirls, but honestly that was a little too fussy for me right now. If I wasn't doing this live, I might have tried to cut the swirls. All right. Okay, and then, of course, thank you, Tracy. I'm glad you like it. So I might come down just a smidge lower. I did cut into the mandala, and probably what I should have done was cut from the mandala side, because then it was equally cut. Oh well. What can you do? I don't know if this is long enough. I do like it, so I think I'm gonna just leave it here for now, and maybe I will add a different piece to it, but I wanted you to see. Oh, I have a thought. I'm going to just staple it. See, this is, I have this, I think this is broken. I have a tiny piece of ribbon. I love the way the color works with this piece. And so instead of going to dig for it, I'm just gonna, I don't have enough to tie it. I'm just gonna staple it. And by the way, yes, I am using a giant long arm stapler here because my little stapler has died. Okay. I need a smaller one. All right, and so then there I have another tag that now I can use as a journal piece as well. So let's tuck that in, because, you know, we have all these pockets, people. Let's add stuff to them. All right. All right, do we have any questions on what I've done? Whoops, sorry. My thing is moving. Do we have any questions that I can answer for you as far as the tags? I mean, I could keep going a million different ways. You know, I have the tissue paper that I used for the inside of this. I still have some of that left. If I glued that down onto a piece of I'll show you, I have here, glued it onto the file folder. Any of the ones that are done, that were printed out on the deli paper would look really beautiful on that. There's the other one, here we are. So this would be the green. So the flower one would look really beautiful. You know, the starkness of the mandala with the green peeking through, or any colored tissue paper that you have, actually, excuse me, would make another beautiful tag. You know, use up the lined paper. Make a bunch of tags that you can then write on, and maybe you could use them as a way to even use as a gift, you know, like the card. That tag with the lined paper on the back would be the card for a gift, as opposed to going and buying a greeting card or a whole greeting card. If you gave someone this attached to the present, and you wrote your message, happy birthday, get well, you know, thinking of you, whatever it is, then they have this to use as a bookmark or whatever they're, you know, would love to do with it. So try to think, you know, how can you write on a tag or add it as a present. I printed this out, the lined paper. Okay, I feel like I've frozen. There I am. Am I back? I froze there for a minute. Woo! here. Okay. I guess I can see, everybody can see and hear me. I don't know why I froze, but I did. If someone just let me know that I'm back and doing things. Okay, good. All right. I was like, all of a sudden I was frozen. That happens. You know, even using the lined paper, it's very subtle the way that it printed, but if you put this as a background and then started collaging on top of it, that would make it really pretty too. It would be an interesting background to work with. So I hope all those gives you some ideas of what to play with, to add some tags, to make your book even more bulky and fun. For those that were on the live class or watch the replay of the live class on Tuesday on Zoom, this is the journal, the second journal that I shared to make, which was using up the leftover inside pages if you made them and just turning it into an accordion book, so that instead of having one half art, one half writing, I glued the pages every other so that I had an option each time of what to do and what to use. And, you know, so if you have access to the classroom still, please go ahead and check that out. And then again, I used the green paper from the tags on the cover. It was printed on the deli paper. And then, you know, utilize the book paper that we had done. I was really in love with the book paper for this, and took one of the prompts and used it kind of like a title for the journal. Okay, and then it just has a piece of ribbon to hold it closed, because with an accordion you never know how fat that sucker's gonna get. And again, for those, if you're just popping in or we're not here, I've started playing in the journal a little bit, and then as part of the class there will be another live on Saturday on Zoom. So for those in the classroom, you will get an email for that, and we'll play. I'm going to play some more in the journal, and so you can see me working through some of the pages. So just for a little bit extra, this is for those that are like, what is this? Especially if you just found it on YouTube today. This is a live that is all about a preview to what I do in my Creative Playground membership, which has just opened for enrollment. And the class that we were talking about with the journal, you can see in the picture here, the class was called Snack Time because it was broken up into bite-sized little bits of lessons for people to build a journal over 6 days. And then these lives were just to add on. So it is still available through the 19th. And then the membership is open till enrollment until the 21st. And so I would love to have anyone that's interested in the membership. That would be awesome. These are just some philosophies, I guess you would say, that are really important to me. 5 minutes will always count. That's why this was called Snack Time, a quick snack of time to do a little bit of creativity. It doesn't have to be every day. I use the word daily-ish a lot, but time adds up. If you just put down one piece of collage every day for a week, at the end of the week you have 7 things on the page and you might have a finished page. So it's really important to me that people don't take their creativity off or out of their lives or away from them, because Sarah, I see that, and if you would like, can you please, yes, if you should just email me directly, I will work on that for you, okay? Because I need your email address to work on that. But it's really important to me that people take time for their creativity, even if it's just a minute. I think that you will find that it's really important that you do this. And then, curiosity and experimentation, they are the teachers. They are your teachers. Just keep trying things and seeing what happens. And then limited supplies, beginner's mind. Keep the supplies simple. You saw what I did. I took one printable and printed it 3 different ways and then just started gluing it on paper. So, and then I'm just trying things. All I do is just try things and share them. With the membership, a lot of times I'm trying things out loud, not even always ahead of time. And because I want people to also see that artists don't just put something down and it becomes perfect. We play, and as a teacher, I have to experiment and try things before I can get you to do it. So we do things and they fail miserably, or they look terrible, or whatever, however you would like to utilize that. I never think of them as failures, because they're just informing what the next thing is I'm going to do. So that's important. And the other thing as part of snack time is that there is a promo code within the classroom in order for you to try out the membership. It is a free month. You just sign up. You have to subscribe to the membership, but you use a promo code to get the first month free. If you decide to sign up for the year-long membership, then what you would do is get $24 off that, and it ends up being 3 months free when you pay for the whole year up front. So please take advantage of that so that you can try it out and see if the membership is something that you would enjoy. It is very much about play, delight, joy, having fun. I don't call it the creative playground for nothing. It is really all about that. And I do believe that when we play and start with a level of joy, I'm going to put my face in the spotlight, a level of joy and delight and just curiosity, then the hard things that we're dealing with in our lives will show up. That's the way it works. And then, it also is a way for us to work through them. There's many times that I have spent the time working on an art journal page. I'm like, ooh, hot pink, and I'm having fun, and I'm using all the rainbows. And, I finish a page and I'm like, okay. And then I realize I need some words for it, or a quote pops in my mind, or something I've been thinking about. And I can add some words to it and realize that as I was playing and having fun and just being messy and gluing stuff down, my brain was noodling on something, and it helped me process it. And so it's important to remember that sometimes starting with the hard is hard, but sometimes starting with the fun and the curiosity and the play and I'm just going to stick my fingers in paint and I'm just going to glue some paper down will help you noodle on whatever it is that's happening and help you process through it, okay? So if there are any questions, you are welcome to email me. Sarah, please don't forget to email me so that I can help you with the playground. If anyone is seeing this on the replay and has some questions, please comment below. I see all the comments, or just reach out to me if you know how to get a hold of me with an email, and I will help you. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope that you found something to try. I hope that even if you just sat and were watching the creativity for a little while, it brought some joy to your life. Thank you, Julie. And I do encourage you to pick up the supplies. It's one thing to sit and watch us and watch YouTube videos and watch Instagram Reels and all those and watch other people do creativity, but you also need to pick up your supplies, even if it's a pencil and a Post-it. Pick it up, circle it, draw, doodle, do whatever you want to do, and just do something a little bit here and there, and it'll add up, okay? All right, thanks so much, everyone. I will see you all soon around all the places that we are, okay? Thank you.